The next concept we need to go over is finding max and mins in your graph. And I have or turning points. I'm gonna go ahead and box that to make it stand out a little bit more. Your homework's gonna refer to these as turning points, and I don't know why, it just really bothers me. But when they're saying turning points, they're asking for max and mins. Okay, so the value of an input where a function changes from increasing to decreasing as we go from left to right, that is called a local maximum. Okay, so where it changes from increasing to decreasing as we're going from left to right. So you can see here, my function is increasing. And as you're going from left to right, as your x's are getting bigger, your y's are also getting bigger as well. So it's increasing. Then it hits a tipping point, and then it starts decreasing. It's going from y values of like 16 going down to negative 16. So here it's decreasing. So when it changes from increasing to decreasing here, this point is a max. Okay, and that's what they're referring to as a turning point here. Okay, so then similarly, a value of input where the function changes from decreasing to increasing as we go from left to right is then called a local minimum. So here it is changing from decreasing, hitting a low point here, and then increasing. So this right here would be a min. Now, this isn't an absolute max or an absolute min. It's a local max because this isn't the absolute highest, right? It's not the highest it's going to go. This is going to keep going up forever. But in this area here, it is the local max. Same thing here. This function is going to keep decreasing forever. So this is not the absolute min. It is a local minimum. And this spot here is a min. So example 5, graph the function f of x using a standard viewing window. So that's from a couple videos ago. And we need to list the turning points. So let's split the screen again. Okay, this was from last video, so I'm going to exit out of everything. I'm going to type that in. Okay, Shift-6 gives you your caret key. And again, Shift-6. Okay. So. All right, here is my graph here, and I'm already on the standard viewing window from last problem. When I go in here, negative 10 to 10 with a step of 1, negative 10 to 10 with a step of 1. So turning points here, you can see this is almost like this graph right here. You can see the max, and you can see the min in this one right here. So to get to those points, if I click anywhere on this graph, and let me make this one bigger now. If I click anywhere on this graph, there's a couple points that are going to kind of gray. You can see points here, and points here. The things that it's going to highlight are maxes, mins, x, and y intercepts. So I have a max here and a max here. These are intercepts right here because they're along that x-axis. So I don't really need these points here. I need these two. This is where it goes from increasing to decreasing, where it goes from decreasing to increasing. So my turning points are at negative 2, 8 and 0, negative 4. Okay, once you type it in, click on the graph and it's going to show you some gray points. You're clicking on those. Okay, let's do the same thing here. If I exit out of here, we're going to type this in. Okay, and I need to know what is the turning point. Well, right here, I don't really need it, but let me go ahead and put in a y equals here. Okay. I don't see the turning point because my viewing window is off. And this one actually does not tell me what viewing window to use. So I need to play around with this. And this is where students can get really frustrated and not understand. But there's literally not a lot of rhyme or reason to what I am doing. I am just playing around with the numbers. I can see I have 2 points here. So what I'm needing to do is see higher or lower. I don't know if this graph here, I do know it's a parabola because of x squared, but what I don't know if it's a parabola like this with a vertex up top or a parabola like this with a vertex down below. Because I could have a turning point way up here, or I could have a turning point way down here. My x's are fine. I'm seeing all of that information. So what I'm needing to do is go in here and start expanding on my y. Literally does not matter what you do here. Just find that turning point. So if I change my -10 to a 100, okay, I can see that's not down there. Let's try to see if it's above. So I'll change that one to a 100. It's not there, but I can see it is probably going to be this one here because I can see that it's getting skinnier, right? It's starting to go up. So I'm going to keep going further and further up on this y. So let's try 500 instead of 100. And there's my graph. Okay, I am literally just kind of playing with the numbers. If you guess completely wrong, when we have this 100 here, if I wanted to add another 0 and go to 1,000, I can still get the information I need. I can still see that max. So you are literally just playing around with these numbers. 300 wouldn't be enough. And so you could maybe try 400, and there it is. So it doesn't matter if I did 400, 500, or 1,000, I see that turning point. Just play around with that number and use, kind of the best judgment you can. I did know I didn't need to change that X. I needed to change the Y. I needed to see further up or down. So I click on that graph and we can see some important points again. I have 2 X-intercepts. I have 1 Y-intercept. This is my X-intercept because it's crossing on my X-axis. This is crossing my Y-intercept. So this is my Y, or the Y-axis. So this is my Y-intercept. That's not what it's asking for though, right? It wants the max and the min. So here is my max right here. And I didn't know I did such a bad example. So I was checking if I wrote that wrong, or typed it in wrong, but I did not. So here's our answer. So I'm just going to round to 2 decimal places. So we're going to call that -2.06, comma. Okay, when I round, that 8 makes that 5 go up, comma, 342 point, again, 06. Because once again, that 8 makes that 5 go up to a 6. Okay, so those are my turning points, aka my max and min. It just doesn't care if it's a max or a min. It just wants those turning points there. Use the window if they give it to you, because if they give you a window, you're guaranteed to have those turning points in that window. When they don't give you a window, play around with it until you can find the information you need.